What's going on, guys? So today we are going to be changing the oil of my 2016 Yamaha MT-07. Now, the Yamaha MT-07 is one of the easiest big bikes out there to change the oil, simply because you don't need much tools. You only need a 17mm wrench to take off that drain plug, and if you haven't been spending much time in the gym, you're going to need an oil filter remover, or in this case, a bicycle sprocket remover, which is kind of the same thing. It's basically a chain whip which you use to take the oil filter out. But for today, since I have been spending some time in the gym, I'm just going to use my muscles to take that oil filter out. So without further ado, let's get on with it. So right before we get started, I'm going to be using Purolene 10W50 fully synthetic oil for our Yamaha MT-07 here. So now I know the owner's manual recommends 10W40 weight. However, given how hot it is here in the Philippines, you can't go wrong with a little higher viscosity oil. Take account of that extra heat. So before we get started, the first thing you're going to want to do is to put your motorcycle up on a paddock stand. So let's get on with it. Okay, so contrary to popular belief, you can actually put your motorcycle up on a paddock stand if you live alone, and it's rather simple. Let me show you how it's done. So you're going to want to make sure you have enough space to work with, and you're going to want to stand on the right side of the bike like so. So first thing we do is we're going to position the paddock stand onto the swing arm, and then have the bike stand up straight. Make sure you hold it somewhere where it's secure and it won't fall over. And then just line it up like so, and just push. That's it. Your bike is up on the paddock stand. As is the case with most bikes and cars when it comes to changing the oil, you want to make sure your engine is up to operating temps just to get that oil flowing smoothly out once we pull the drain plug. So we're going to let it run for a few minutes and then get on with actually changing the oil. The bike has been running for around 3 minutes now, and we're at 66 degrees Celsius for our engine temps. This should be good enough for us to actually go ahead and change our oil. So let's do it. Alright, so just like before, we're going to want to make sure we put a nice little basin underneath the engine, like so, to make sure we don't make a mess of things. And now we can go ahead and loosen that drain plug, which is over here. Okay, so the MT-07's drain plug is located right here where the oil pan is, and you're going to need a 17mm wrench to undo that. Like so, there. And then be careful because it's hot. Just turn it slowly until the oil starts dripping out. There we go. Now while the oil is dripping away, we can go ahead and undo the oil filter. So now if you find it's a bit too tight, you can use an oil filter remover. However, these things are supposed to be hand tight, so you should be able to remove it just with your hands. And now to remove the oil filter, so I'm just going to use my hands here. Turn it counterclockwise. I think I got it. There we go. And you can see more of that oil is coming out. So for reference, this is a Vic C806 oil filter. It's a generic oil filter that works for Hondas, Toyotas, and other motorcycles. In this case, this is the same oil filter that you will find in a Honda Civic FD, if I'm not mistaken. It's only around 150 pesos online. Got it for that same price in my nearest gas station, so very convenient. So while we're letting that oil drip, it's time for that obligatory PSA. So if you guys are going to be changing your oil on your own, be sure not to dispose of the used oil down the drain or throw it in the garbage. Make sure to put it back in the oil container and have it delivered or bring it to your nearest gas station. And they should take care of disposing it for you free of charge. So today we are going to be using Purolene 10W50 NTEC Pro R Plus for our Yamaha MT-07. Now, as I said a while ago, the owner's manual does recommend 10W40. However, given how hot the climate is here in the Philippines, there's no harm in going up one level in terms of viscosity to account for that extra heat. So this is one of the best oils you can get from Purolene, and it's available in all Motorworld branches. As for the oil filter, here is our C806 oil filter. So it says here it's for Honda. However, we do know it works for the Yamaha MT-07. So I think this is the same filter you'll find in the Honda Civic FD. Let's open it up. Yep, there we go. It's the same as the filter we just took out. Get rid of this. Okay, so before we actually fill her up with oil and close all the holes that we've opened, let me just walk you through how it's actually done. So here, this is the the oil filler cap, which I've taken off. And this is the sight glass here underneath the crankcase. So it is very big. You can really see it's very visible, and it's going to be easy for us to determine how much oil to put in, because there are two lines here, there are two demarcations, and you want to make sure that your oil is somewhere in the middle of those two lines. As far as how much oil we're actually going to put in, the owner's manual says 2.4 to 2.7 quarts, which translates to roughly 2.5 liters. So we've bought 3 liters of this stuff, and I'm pretty sure we're going to have more than enough oil to get the job done properly. Okie dokie, so this right here is the part where things can get a little bit messy. So let's get on with it. So here, we have here our oil filter. You're going to want to fill this up with oil like so. Just enough, but not too much that it overflows, right? And then you're gonna want to put some of this oil on your finger like that, and just line that O-ring nice and generously with a layer of oil. That's so that it doesn't seize up and we won't give ourselves hell the next time we change our oil, right? So yeah, just lather that all on there. And yeah, we can put a bit more oil, I think. There we go. Just a tad bit more oil. There we go, let it seep in. If you can see that, there you go. Oops. There. Let's lather that O-ring up nicely. And now we can put it onto the engine. So I still have my nice little basin over here, right? To avoid any mess. So just put it on, turn it half counterclockwise to make sure it's straight, and then just screw that bad boy right in. There you go. So now, as I mentioned earlier, these things are only supposed to be hand tight, so I suggest just tighten it as much as you can by hand and with the help of a rag. There we go. That'll do it. Alright, now moving on to the other side of the engine, we can now reinstall our oil drain plug. So you're going to want to put this in nice and carefully, and absolutely do not over tighten this thing, because you're going to be looking at an expensive repair, because you could either strip this drain plug, or even worse, you could crack your oil pan, and that's not something you want. So let's do it properly. So again, 17 mil. Put it in there. Just gently. There. So the nice thing about the MT-07 is it actually clicks in place, so you know that it's tight enough. So it's not really likely that you're going to over tighten it unless you're stupid, because it's going to click, and when it clicks, that means it's the right torque setting for the drain plug. So now we can take this off and take our nice little basin off, and everything should be bone dry. I'm gonna wipe it with a rag just to make sure everything is nice and clean. And now we can actually proceed to filling her up with oil. Okay, so it's time to fill her up with some of this good stuff. So let's open this bottle. Not really sure how, but there we go. Look at that. That's really cool. This is really cool of Putolin to do. It's a nice little thing here. I don't know what you call it, like a nipple, that basically eliminates the need for a funnel, because you can just You know, like that, right? Straight into the oil filler. So let's get on with it, mate. All right, so I've got here a pair of scissors, and I'm just gonna cut this right here. There we go. And we can fill it up. So take note that when you fill it up with oil, make sure you glance at your sight glass every now and then, just to make sure you've got your oil level dialed in. Now we're on to our second bottle. Oh yeah, I found out you can just actually unscrew this thing over here. You don't need to cut it, so makes life a bit easier. Good on you, Putulin. Right, so right now we are at the optimum oil level. So it's just a matter of replacing this oil filler cap and then starting the bike up. And eventually, hopefully, we'll just have to top up a little bit and we'll be good to go. So let's do it. So just like all other parts on the bike, let's not over tighten this because it's gonna cause quite a bit of a hassle. So just hand tight until it doesn't turn anymore, and that's about it. And now let's fire the beast up. Sucked up by the oil pump, and you can't see any of it there right now. Let it run for a few minutes and then check the oil level again, make sure there aren't any leaks, and we should be good to go. It's a little pro tip, so you can put some newspaper underneath the bike while you're letting it warm up and letting that new oil circulate in the system, just to make sure that you haven't got any leaks from your oil drain plug and your new oil filter. So we're gonna let this bike run for a good few minutes and observe and see if any leaks start to develop. So hopefully not, and we're going to be good to go. So let's just wait till she hits 89 degrees Celsius and we should be good to go to check the final oil level and make any top-ups if necessary. Okay, so I've taken the bike out for a quick spin, let it sit for a couple of minutes. Actually, I think more than half an hour now on top of this newspaper, and it's looking bone dry. And best of all, our oil level is on point. So I think that concludes this job. As you can see, it was a very easy and straightforward oil change. One of the easiest oil changes I've ever done on any motorcycle. So there you have it, guys, a successful oil change on our 2016 Yamaha MT-07. So like I said, it's a very easy, very straightforward procedure, one of the easiest big bikes to do an oil change on. So there you have it. I hope you guys learned something new today, and thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.